Hello guys, welcome back to our Python course for beginners. So this is the module number 3 and today we are going to see Python variables. So what are the Python variables we are going to see? So first of all, what is a variable? So now we are going to see this. So a variable is a name placeholder for a value. So I hope you don't understand this. So now I want to clear this concept. So variable is a box where we can put all the things in that box. So it will store data and it will store the data which we are going to store. So variables are used to store data in Python program. So this is the simple and very simple thing about variables. So variable is used to store data. This is the simple. Now we can store values in the variables, and variables have different type of data types. So we have already covered data types in our previous things. So you can use variables to store any type of data such as number, string, list, or dictionaries. Anything you can store in that thing. Now how we can declare variables? So we have already covered this thing in our previous video, but now I want to revise these things because this is very important. This is the first step of your program. So you have to declare variables, assign values to it, and then all the things are begin. So now we are going to revise this uh, quickly. So okay, so now to declare a variable in Python you use following syntax we have already covered. So variable name equal to is assignment operator, and we are going to see we are going to give value. So now for example, to declare a variable name of variable is my integer, and we have to assign value which is 10. So now we can use following code. My variable is equal to 10. So we cannot use space here, therefore we have used underscore. Underscore is can be used in the variable name, but space is not allowed in the declaring of variables. So now how we can assign values to it? So we can assign values by using these things. So we can provide, we can directly give this as this, and we can change the value to 20. So how we can update the value of variable? So now variable names. So there are some things we have to consider when we are giving the name to variables. So there are some rules we have to consider that. So we are going to see the rules. So variable names can be any sequence of characters, but they must start with a letter or a underscore, but it should not start with number. So this is the very important thing. You can start with letter like ABCD or any alphabet, or you can use underscore also, but you cannot use any other symbol like dollar, asterisk, or any other thing, or you cannot use numbers here. Now variable names cannot contain spaces. So as I have already told you that spaces not allowed in the variable name. Now it is also important to avoid Python keywords as variable names. So there are various type of keywords which are reserved in the Python library, or it is reserved keywords. So we cannot use that keywords as variable names, such as data types. We cannot use integer name, or it is a keyword, so we cannot use for variable name. Now variable types. So there are different type of variables, we have already seen that. So Python is dynamically type language, which means that you don't need to specify a type of variable when you declare it. So we have already seen that we don't need to declare a data type before variable. So this is the feature of Python, and because it is a dynamical type language, therefore we don't need to use data type or any other thing. Python will automatically infer the type of a variable based on the value that is assigned to it. For example, if you assign the value 10 to a variable my variable, Python will infer that my integer is an integer. Okay, so now it will automatically detect which type of data type or value we are going to provide to our variable. Now using variables, So how you can use variable can be used in Python code in a number of ways. So there are various type of ways where we can use variables. For example, you can use variables to store the result of calculation, for to store the input from users, and to pass data to functions. So consider that you are going to add two numbers, then you can use variable, or you can create a variable called sum or addition, and in that variable you can store the result of that numbers or addition of that numbers. Then if you are taking the value from user, then you can put it in the variables, and it is also used to pass data to functions. So we are going to see how to take input from user. Also we are going to see functions in detail. Now, variable scope. So it is a very important topic because it can also be asked in interviews. What is variable scope, local scope, global scope? All these things can be asked in the interview. So this is important. The scope of variable determines where it can be accessed in a Python program. So this is the scope from where we can access this variable. So there are two types of scope in Python. First one is local scope and second one is global scope. As we have discussed earlier, there are two types of scope. First one is local scope and other is global scope. So local scopes or local variables can only be accessed within the function in which they are declared, and it means that there is a limitation of that variable. We can access it only within that function. We cannot access it uh, exit from the function, or we cannot access that out from the function. So this is the local scope, and global variables can be accessed from anywhere in the program. So there is no limitation of for global variables. So this is the simple thing we have to understand. Now, best practices for using variables. So there are some good practices where we can use for programming. First one is, here are the some practices for using variables in Python. First of all, choose descriptive variable names. So you have to choose descriptive variables names, like you don't have to use a equal to 10, b equal to 10, and then you are going to store the addition of that in c equal to a plus b. So this is not correct way. You have to use that number 1, then number 2 equal to 20, number 1 equal to 10, and then you have to use sum or addition equal to number 1 plus number 2. So this is the correct way for using the variables. So now use consistent variable naming convention, like you can use character or underscore. You cannot use numbers for starting the variable names. Avoid using global variables whenever possible, because it is for the security. So if you change that variable, then it can change for full program. So now document your variables. So you have to document your variables. So this is also important, good practice. So now we are going to conclude our lecture that Python variables are fundamental concept of the Python programming language. So this is very fundamental and basic thing of programming or any other programming, not in Python. It is also very important in all the programming languages. Understanding the and using variables effectively is essential for writing Python code. So I hope now you have cleared with data type, you are clear with variables. So now we can start further things in our further videos. So this is, now we have covered data type and variable completely. So now if you have any question, then you can ask in the Q&A section. I will try to answer all the question which you have asked by you. Okay, so thank you guys, take care, bye bye.